welcome back to Lovin Sheila, the podcast. We are here at episode 13. And I know for many, 13 is an unlucky number, but we're not into luck, we're not doing that thing. So here we are, episode 13. And I just want to reflect a little, like every time we do this, there's always a lot of reflection for me as I look back at all of our episodes and I just see the catalog of content that we have, protecting our peace and who are you and tune in and be empowered. And I just think all these titles are so powerful and so important. And they're really telling a story. And they're telling a story of how to holistically incorporate all these things into loving ourselves. And it's definitely a process, it's definitely a journey, and it's definitely work. And like we said before, we are worth it. So we are tuning in and we are empowering ourselves and we're trying to get the work done. So we're just jumping right into it. Lovin Sheila, the podcast, has been an extraordinary opportunity for me because it allows me more to tell my story, to live my story, to direct my story, and orchestrate and narrate the story. And when I see, as I'm telling the story, when I see there are areas that really need to be addressed, it allows me to focus on them. So really fleshing out different areas of my life, and hopefully in the process of me having lived all these years, that there's some things that I can share with you that might be helpful, that might help you avoid some pitfalls, or might even just tell you, oh, I'll do that too because it works. So hopefully giving my story allows some of you to see yourselves in me and maybe do some of the things I did or not do some of the things that I did in order to, course correct more rapidly, because I came up with Lovin Sheila because I found that after years I wasn't really focused on Lovin Sheila. I was kind of focused on loving everybody else or trying to be what everyone needed me to be and putting Sheila second. But like my son told me recently, put yourself first. And it was interesting to hear him say that because, he could be a victim if I'm putting myself first, because that means he won't be a priority. But I appreciated the love that he gave me and to tell me, like, you need to put yourself first. And so I'm trying to raise myself in my hierarchy and make sure that I'm taking care of myself and loving myself. And that's what this is all about. So it has really given me the opportunity to evaluate things, again, to tell my story, to look deeper at the story, and to, help define me. Because like we said, if you don't define yourself for yourself, then you will be crushed and you will be what everyone else wants you to be. And in the process of me defining myself and making sure I'm doing the things that are loving me, we've come under some attack, some have wanted to shut us down. There's been some ridicule, there's been some criticism and even confusion. And I think that only comes from knowing your audience, because there is an audience for this. And typically it's women, and typically it's women who've been married and have children, have had careers and so forth. And that's our audience. And so when it falls on different ears, then obviously with different experiences, it's like reading someone else's mail, because it's not for you, so you don't quite understand it, and you're not looking at it with the correct lens. You have to be looking at it from a lens of openness, from a lens of what can I get from this, those kind of things. And if we don't do it from that lens, then we're probably missing it, and we're probably reading someone else's mail, and it's going to lead to confusion and so forth. So I feel like Lovin Sheila, the podcast, is, type and shadow of what my life has been, because you're not always understood. Sometimes you will come under attack simply for trying to be yourself or to love yourself. But, what do you do in those situations? That's the question. What do? You stand up. You stand for what you believe in. You make sure that you do things with dignity and integrity, and that it comes from a good place in your heart. And that's where I feel Lovin Sheila is. We're trying to do things with dignity, integrity, to look inward and not outward, to look at our approach to the world and see how we can change our lives by looking at ourselves and seeing what we can do and how we can set up our space, our life, our our place in this world the way we want it to be, and not the way people want us to want it to be, or what they think it should be, or what they think that we should listen to, but actually what feels right intrinsically within us. Again, if you don't define yourself for yourself, then you're always going to be taking in all these other opinions of what should be happening, and it doesn't necessarily agree with your soul. So you need to do some soul searching to know what works for you, because it might work for Tammy or Teresa and Tina, but it may not work for you. So that's where we are. In Lovin Sheila, I'm telling you some things that work for me, and it's your opportunity to take what you can, what works, what you think it would be helpful, and if it doesn't, then I understand. We'll move on to the next thing. But there are so many different areas that we're touching that I feel like it can be beneficial for so many women as we go on our journeys in this life. And I'm looking at life now more as a movie, okay? And the other day I was reflecting and I was thinking to myself, when are we going to get to the good part? And it reminded me of this song when I was a teenager by Houdini, and I started to listen to it, just an old school rap song. Because I'm like, okay, when are we going to get to the good part? We've been through a lot. We've been through some fun stuff. We've been through raising our children. We've been through building our life, building our family, building our career, and all this other stuff. And it's been so much effort. It has been so much work. So I was kind of like, when are we going to get to the good part, where it's just like, well, that's what Lovin Sheila is about, is getting to that good part. And like I said, I'm looking at it like a movie, because there are some segments, or portions, or scenes that seem like they take eternity, because those were the painful parts, or the difficult parts, the challenging parts. But I had to reframe it and focus and realize this is just a small scene from the movie. There are so many more. There's so many more pieces to this film. This may be the epilogue, and this may be the prologue, and this may be the first chapter, and this may be the final scene. But if you put it all in the big picture, it helps you to gain some perspective, because it makes the challenging or the not so happy times that seem like they extend forever, it puts them into perspective, and you see that they're really not as long as they seem. It's just a chapter in the book, and you'll be turning the page soon, and there'll be a new chapter, and there will be a good part coming, and then there'll probably be a not so good part again, and then that's just life. Those are just the ebbs and the flows of this life. And so that's the perspective that I'm getting, because this is a long movie. Just like many people say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I certainly know what a marathon is. I've been there, because at about mile 18, it's like, why did I sign up for this? What was I thinking, But at mile 26, you're like, yes, I did it. And so that's pretty much how life is. And so I want to make sure that we go into this and knowing that, the difficult times will come, but they will not stay. And it's a matter of how we persevere through it. And that's what I'm getting at, is, I said we stand up to it, and how we're resilient, and what helps us to be resilient. What are we calling on for our strength? What are our patterns? This is what was brought to me today. What are our patterns of resilience? So all those times that we had to make it through, all the difficult times, all the challenging times, what did we do? What did we lean into? What did we grab hold to? What were those things? So, like I mentioned before, memorializing things. Like last week, I told you I memorialized something. I took a photo of me and I recalled the feelings, and I stayed present in that feeling. But what is it that got you through? What behaviors made it possible for you to continue, for you to keep standing? I remember a pastor, when I was a kid, there were these toys, they were called Weebles. And the slogan was Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. So Weebles are like a toy, and they're like people, but they don't have legs. They're like an egg shape. So you can shake them and you can push them, and they kind of like move, but they don't fall down. They always stand up. They always pop back up. What did you lean on that made you resilient in your times? It could have been a friend. It could have been a family member. It could have been your parents, your children, our God. That we lean on. But there's some, or it could be books, or studying, or whatever. But there's a process, there's a pattern that we rely on that helped us through. And I just want to encourage you, whatever that is, for me, it's the Word of God. It could be me reading the Word of God. It could be me listening to different preachers encourage my soul. But that's what I have to lean into. It's God for me, and oftentimes I think I have looked for a substitute, because God is, He's spirit, and I can't say, God, what shall I do? And just hear Him so plainly, Sheila, walk that way, or whatever. It's not that plain. It requires some quietness and some time with Him and some meditation. And sometimes we're not patient enough to do that. Let's just be honest. We're not patient. We want a quick fix. And maybe I'll reach out to a friend or a family member and want to exchange some thoughts. And I know for me, there has been I feel like there has been a disconnect where I don't quite connect with my feelings and what I'm thinking as far as communicating with others, and it's like we don't quite get each other. And so, and maybe it's just for this season, and we'll talk about seasons in a minute. It's probably just for this season. But what it's taught me is what we already knew, and that is, let's see, your mama can't save you, your daddy can't save you, your husband can't save you, your wife can't save you, your sister, your brother, your child. You know what I'm saying? You have to do the work. So your mother can't tell you, oh, daughter, this is it. At the end of the day, you have to do it for yourself. And that comes from that alone time that you have with yourself, and bringing God into it, or bringing in whatever those past practices were for you that helped you to stay resilient, to help you to stay the course, which helped you to get up and keep moving and move in a direction that was forward, that you weren't looking back and you weren't carrying that baggage with you, that you were moving forward in a free fashion. So that's what I want to encourage you to. Just lean into those patterns, whatever it may be for you. Look back over your life and see, the different areas that you have overcome and how you approached it. And you may see some ways that you approached it that were not the best ways, and to make sure make sure that you do not incorporate that you remove those patterns and work on the ones that are bringing you where you need to go, bringing you to that new place. And that's what I want to encourage you today. Again, earlier I said pieces of me, and that was in my spirit when I woke up this morning. I just kept thinking of pieces of me, and the pieces of me that I have brought to 2023. There are some pieces of me that I left behind, in 2000 or in 95. There's some things that can't go with you to the next level. And so, though I mentioned previously, there's some areas that I felt like were broken, and so that would cause there to be some pieces. And so, I am trying to put it all back together again, putting all these pieces back together for the purpose of the longer story. And the longer story, what I found is in life, there are seasons. There's seasons to everything under the sun. And if you look at Ecclesiastes 3 1 through 8, I'll have my producers put it up there because if I quote it, I will quote it poorly. But what I'll say is for everything under the sun, there is a season for it. So there's a time to laugh, a time to cry, there's a time for joy, there's a time for pain, but there's a season for everything. So just like in our long movie, we have our epilogue, we have our chapters, we have our final scene. Likewise in life, there are seasons, and we have to, go through the seasons because they will change. And so we have to be ready, willing, and equipped. And so we have to know what got us through this last stormy season is what we're going to need to get us through this stormy season. And why not add a little extra to it? Why not, incorporate some things that you're learning from Dr. Cloud, or some word that you've been given in school or in your church or whatever. So it's just gathering all these things to make a more resilient you, a more bulletproof you. That's what we're trying to do. And one thing a word that stuck with me this week as I was just going through some things and rearranging some things, and I said I'm going to repurpose this, and it was furniture. And I just was meditating on that word repurposing, because there's so many things that I'm trying to repurpose. And I might even be repurposing Sheila, while I'm loving Sheila, maybe I'm repurposing her. Now she's got a new purpose in her life, and it starts with me. It starts with me, like my son said, put yourself first. So that's the repurposing. And so I want us to evaluate that, because we may have some things that we're taking with us into this next chapter, into this next season, but understand we might take them with us, but we also might repurpose them. They have a different function in our life now. They may have been the star, but now they may be a supporting member of the story. So remember, it's okay to repurpose. It's okay to redesignate different, is that right? To designate things for a different purpose. And that's what I found that, I was doing. And I was also, I was watching that, and just like that, the latest episode. And it struck me because she's, at the end, she says she's repurposing her pain. And I don't know if everything that I'm repurposing is pain. It may not be pain, maybe just some things out of utility. But maybe it's repurposing your pain, the things that used to hurt, to take ownership of it again, and to take away the dagger that it has previously placed in your soul. Repurpose it to where you're defining it, and you're allowing it to bring you a happy place, a joy, that you're allowing yourself to see beauty in it. What was once painful, now you can see it for something else. And that's what I got from her saying repurposing her pain. So that's just another word. I think I've seen like a lot of trigger words for me that just stand out like pieces of me, and good part, and repurposing. And another word that falls in line with what I'm saying is they also said your story is unwritten. And that was profound to me because here I am telling the story. But the story, like I told you before, there's no strategy, there's no particular plan other than just doing all this work and seeing where I land. So the story is not written, it's unfolding as we speak. And I want us all to embrace the fact that our stories are not written completely. I mean, like, we don't know it, how we're going to tell it exactly. All I can tell you is I want to tell my story. I don't know how the story is going to end necessarily, the step by step, each act or each scene or each chapter in the story. It is unwritten. But I want us to take it from a place of empowerment, not a place of victimhood, not a place of being defeated, but more of overcoming and seeing the positive in the situation, seeing the growth in the situation, seeing how the different situations have brought us where we are, help giving us the knowledge base that we need to apply wisdom to our circumstances and our situations, and that when we're repurposing things that we have the right to do so, and we can designate whatever we want to designate for whatever purpose that suits our needs, that help us to love ourselves more fully and more completely. This is what I believe is powerful in repurposing and redesigning. And I think we need to be mindful of this, that we need to be assured of the power that we have, because we're powerful. We are able, we have so much ability, and we can't lose sight of that even though we might go through some circumstances and deal with some seasons that maybe we wish that season would not have come, or maybe we wish it would go really quickly. But at the same time, know that we are powerful and that we are able to overcome, that we are, that we are open to where we land, and we are responsible for where we land, and we can direct it the way we like. And, we can use the cinematography that we like. I mean, all these things can change. The facts remain the same, but how our perspective and how we look at things, that can be tailored through our experiences and how empowered we feel in a given situation. So that I'm more clear, I want to say the facts remain the same, the experience remains the same. How we go through it, the degree of resilience and the degree of empowerment we have is up to us. It's in our hands. We determine that part. We can determine if we're a victim or if we're a victor. We have that in our hands. And so I want us to remember to go through whatever season it is, because there's a time for everything. But just know that whatever it is, you will come out of it. You might have to dust yourself off a little bit. You might be a little scathed. There might be some ashes, but like the Word of God says, He'll give you beauty for ashes. So come out, dust yourself off, get back firmly in the race, be empowered, know who you are, love yourself, walk the walk that's right for you, tell the story like only you can, because only you can live your life. Like I said, your mother can't do it, your father can't do it, your husband can't do it, no one can do it but you. But you are empowered to live the life that you design. You are empowered to procure the things that you want in your life. You are empowered to remove the things that you don't want. All these things are in your hands. Ladies, I want you to feel empowered. I want you to know that whatever season you're in, there is a plan. You win, you are victorious. So let's keep that in mind, that whatever state you find yourself in right now doesn't mean that's where you stay. The script has been written daily by you, and with, the focus of Lovin Sheila, the podcast is to give you the equipment to make this script turn out the way you'd like, loving yourself, and even liking yourself, and doing the things that you want to do. Just making the life that you want for yourself. And, it's interesting. Today, my son told me that I'm slowly morphing into a Karen. Now, I don't want to be a Karen. I don't want to, that's not my destination. So I might be a Karen right now, today, but I'm telling the story and I'm writing the script, and that won't be my final destination. So maybe I'm just passing through right now, maybe I'm passing through, but we have the ability to tell our story. Okay. And I just want you to know, ladies, be resilient, follow the patterns of your resilience, know which way to go. Remember, we wobble, but we don't fall down. Believe in your strength and trust yourself. And I think that's all I have to say about that for now. But I love you for watching. I thank you. I appreciate you. I thank you. I know I mentioned some of the things that were destructive as far as commentary that I received on Lovin Sheila, but there's also been so much positivity. I mean, far more positivity than negativity. And so for all of you, I thank you, and I thank you for your encouragement, and I thank you for helping me to see the path to loving myself and hoping that we're all on this journey together to love ourselves better and to be happy and to smile and have more days where there are more smiles, less tears, more joy, and less pain. That's what we're striving for. So I thank you again for watching. Don't forget, go get your Lovin' Me shirt. Love yourselves, ladies. It starts right there. And I will see you on the next Lovin Sheila, the podcast.